Control. It's the foundational myth of modern industry. We build massive, complex systems and convince ourselves that checklists and safety valves can tame the laws of chemistry. But on the night of December 2nd, 1984, in Bhopal, India, that myth evaporated. Tonight, we aren't just looking at the tragedy. We're looking at the micromechanics of the failure. How did 40 tons of methyl isocyanate, one of the most reactive and deadly chemicals on Earth, escape tank 610? Let's break down the exact sequence of events. It started with a routine cleaning. At around 9:30 p.m., a worker was told to flush out a clogged pipe with water. Standard procedure dictates inserting a slip blind, a solid metal disc, into the pipe to physically prevent water from flowing back into the chemical storage tanks. The slip blind was never inserted. The valves that were supposed to stop the water, they were leaking. As the water flushed through the pipes, it bypassed the valves and began pouring directly into tank 610, which contained 42 tons of liquid methyl isocyanate, or mic. Mic reacts violently with water. It is an exothermic reaction, meaning it generates intense heat. But worse, the tank was made of stainless steel, but the pipes and valves were carbon steel. The water corroded the iron, carrying iron debris into the mic. Iron acts as a catalyst, accelerating the reaction exponentially. The trap was set. By 10:30 p.m., workers noticed the smell of boiled cabbage, the signature scent of mic. But minor leaks were so common at the Union Carbide plant that they decided to deal with it after their tea break. By 11:30 p.m., the reaction inside tank 610 was a runaway train. The temperature, which should have been kept at 0 degrees Celsius, had spiked past 200 degrees. The pressure gauge was pinned off the scale. The liquid was turning into a massive volume of highly pressurized, lethal gas. This is where the safety systems should have saved the city. But let's look at the reality. Number 1, the refrigeration unit designed to keep the mic cool. It had been shut off months ago to save money. Number 2, the vent gas scrubber meant to neutralize escaping gas with sodium hydroxide. It was turned off and placed on standby. Number 3, the flare tower, designed to burn off any gas that made it past the scrubber. The connecting pipe had been removed for maintenance. At 12:15 a.m., the pressure became too much. The concrete casing over tank 610 cracked. The safety valve blew open. For 2 hours, 40 metric tons of mic gas screamed out of the stack. Because the refrigeration was off, the gas was incredibly hot when it escaped. Because the night was cool with a temperature inversion, the heavy gas didn't disperse into the upper atmosphere. It cooled, sank, and rolled like a thick, silent blanket directly into the densely populated slums surrounding the plant. It wasn't just a tragic accident. It was the mathematical certainty of compounding human neglect. To understand the sheer violence of what happened next, we have to look inside the tank at a molecular level. When the water bypassed the leaking valves and entered tank 610, it didn't just mix with the methyl isocyanate. It initiated a war. The reaction between mic and water is highly exothermic. It creates immense heat. But remember the iron from the corroding pipes? That iron acted as a catalyst. It grabbed hold of the reaction and hit the accelerator. What should have been a slow, manageable heating process became an uncontrollable, cascading thermal runaway. Mic boils at 39 degrees Celsius, just slightly above human body temperature. Because the plant's refrigeration unit had been dismantled, the tank was already sitting at roughly 20 degrees. It took almost no time for the exothermic reaction to push the liquid past its boiling point. Inside the tank, 42 tons of liquid mic was rapidly vaporizing. As a liquid turns into a gas, it expands. It demands space. But tank 610 was a sealed environment. The pressure gauge in the control room pinned itself past 55 psi, the maximum it could read. Inside, it was likely double that. The tank was screaming. Jojo. By midnight, the physical limits of engineering were failing. Tank 610 was buried under a thick casing of concrete, designed to regulate temperature and provide structural support. The pressure inside was now so catastrophic that the steel tank itself began to bulge and warp. The expanding steel forced the concrete casing to crack. Deep, audible fractures echoed. It was the sound of the final layer of physical defense giving way to chemical inevitability. At 12:15 a.m., the pressure relief valve, the absolute last resort, couldn't hold back the tide. It blew completely open, and because the vent gas scrubber and the flare tower were offline, there was nothing left to stop it. For 2 agonizing hours, a high-pressure jet of highly toxic, boiling hot methyl isocyanate gas blasted directly into the open air. 40 metric tons of it. It didn't dissipate because the night was cool. The heavy gas cooled quickly, sank toward the earth, and rolled like a silent, suffocating blanket directly into the sleeping city of Bhopal. The Bhopal gas tragedy forces us to ask terrifying questions about systemic accountability, corporate psychology, and the price of cutting corners. If we don't study the micro failures, we are bound to repeat the macro disasters. If you value deep dives into the psychology of systems, human error, and historical analysis, please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below on what systemic failure you believe we should analyze next. Until next time, stay analytical and stay safe.
Enjoying the insights? Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next video.